Hey, I'm Kristen, and today we are going to talk about web design trends in 2024, what's in, what's out, and what trends are safe to try, meaning they probably have a 3-year shelf life or so, and the ones that you should skip unless you're a designer yourself or you have a designer on your team. Let's go. Okay, so first, let's talk about where to cull design inspiration. So just generally, I know starting out as a web designer, I was always like, I don't know what to get inspired by. And I would always just get inspired by other websites that I saw. I really recommend that you look at what's happening in fashion and interior design because inevitably those trends trickle down online. One amazing source that just came out is Pinterest's design predictions for 2024. I mean, you're going to see a lot in the fashion and interior design world there. Those trends are inevitably going to or have been circulating a little bit already online. So I would definitely get some inspiration there for sure. I also love going to websites like Creative Market and just seeing what are the things that people are downloading right now? Like what's interesting? What are the artists making as assets to use in website projects? And that's usually a little hint as to what's coming. References aside, now let's jump into what I believe are going to be the trends. I think one of the biggest changes that we're going to see is a transition in color palette choice. I know that in 2020 and beyond, we've had a lot of cream websites, lots of beige, and really similar to what's gone on in interior design, very light, airy, breathy. Even before that, right? It was almost like all websites were inspired by the California modern style, super boxy, things like that. Now, I would think a little bit more jazz lounge. I would think a little bit more futuristic too, and like hybrid of that. Think more like, what's that movie with Chris Tucker? Instead of going from, different kinds of beiges and like more airy palettes to more moody, more of like a brown color palette with like a very bright accent color. So think bright blue, lots of orange, lots of peach, lots of pinks, pastels, and anything light and airy kind of out. I would say move more towards like moody, towards depth. And I think that that's actually a really safe color trend story to hop on. I've seen this a lot in the interior design world picking up this year and even over the last 2 years in like popularity, and I think it's probably going to be around at least for the next 3 to 5 years. So I would say this is a very safe trend to pop on is shifting your color palette. Something else that's definitely going to be out in 2024 that's been out for a while is really, really busy websites with a lot going on and tons of tabs, tons of information. In its place is really becoming simple sites with wow factor. So the more that you can use things like animation, hover effects, and scrolling effects in your designs, as long as it's not super distracting, I really think that that's going to make you have a more memorable web presence over just an informational web presence. Like you want your website to be exactly the way that you want to present yourself. So I would say at bare minimum, make your homepage simple but very memorable. And when you want to point people to different pieces of your content that is hosted on your website, you want to do it in a way that feels intentional and strategic and not just like a bunch of links thrown together. Think in terms of video, animation, hover effects, anything that really encourages interactivity is going to do well on websites in 2024 and beyond. You probably noticed the next trend in the Pinterest trend predictions. There is a lot of surrealism happening in imagery. AI tools have made it so that we can create photorealistic images of anything, but with that also means that we have new ways that we can actually interact with a photo and, make what's in our mind come alive. Whether that means that it's completely AI created or it's just something that's an enhancement of an existing image, I think that we have a really cool opportunity to play with surrealism and a world of possibility within our imagery. So why not play with that on websites, right? In contrast, I think we're going to see a lot less just like stark nature backgrounds, just, even normal brand photos that don't have any sort of creative spin on them. I think we're going to see a little less of that. So I'm not saying it's completely outdated and that, you're never going to see it, but I think you're going to see a lot less of it. And it's kind of fun to play with this surrealist trend while you can and while it's around. So go for it. So now here's here's the fast fashion version of the trend. So the trend that I see happening a lot in 2024 that I feel is going to feel dated in a year or two is the trippy, super computer generated, like abstract feel. There is this really cool thing happening with like everything is 3D, it feels jelly, it feels bubbly, it feels really like, I don't know, quirky, I think is the word that I would give it. I think it's going to be around for a while. I think you're going to see that on websites for the next 1 to 2 years, but I don't think it's necessarily timeless. I think it'll feel dated down the line. In contrast, what I think is going to be out are things that feel super organic, super boxy, and script accent fonts. I think they have had their day in web design, and I think, in my opinion, they are over. In general, design mirrors what's happening in culture. And what's happening in culture right now is a lot of focus on science, neuroscience, and revisiting old things and making them new, right? And so when you take that, that's how it feels. There's lots of like hints back at a retro time, whether it's the 70s, Y2K, and we're kind of spinning them into this like futuristic space age where we have things like AI, and we're starting to play with things like robots and different kinds of cars and all of that, right? And so we're kind of stepping into the future while taking winks at the past. So that's what I think we're going to see a lot more of. I also feel like individual expression is back when it comes to design. So for a long time in the, style world, in the interior design world, it was kind of like everything was super beige, monochromatic. But what's really cool about 2024 is that there is a big nod to individualism and like finding quirky things that really express you. So like I said, there's like a dark, moody style, think like jazz lounge, but there's also this thing going on that's like add a fun lamp, add a fun piece of art that like definitely reflects your personality. I just want to remind everyone while we talk about this, I mean, timelessness doesn't necessarily mean boring, right? Like you can have the Chanel or the Tom Ford websites, which look exactly the same. You can have those things in the world and they're timeless. Sure thing. However, you can also be like one of my favorite boutique brands out in New York City. They're called Min and Mon. They also have a really minimal website, but they really mix it up when it comes to the design and the marketing images that they cycle in and out in elements that expire more quickly. So maybe you don't go all out on the trends on your main website, and maybe you just stick to them when it comes to like social media or things that have a shorter shelf life than your website. If you're a designer and you want to learn conversion-driven design and how to make design decisions despite the trends, then definitely check out my Design to Sell course. It is on sale right now, and I highly recommend popping in there and really increasing your value as a conversion-driven designer. That's going to set you apart even as trends change and even as AI gets better and better. So definitely check that out. And if you're not a designer, then I have a free workshop for you called Branding Without a Designer. Definitely check it out. It'll help you get started and know, okay, like here's cost-effective ways to brand and things that you need to think through as you cull inspiration for branding for your business. Now, I would love to hear from you. If I missed any trends, please pop them in the comments below. Let me know what I missed. I would love to take a look at other things coming. And if you want more content like this helping you design and build your online business, then definitely hit that subscribe button and look out for weekly videos from me, Launch with Chris. This has been so much fun, and I'm excited to see you more in the new year.